Witam wszystkich bardzo serdecznie na kanale Szateł. Oczywiście kto nie subuje ten pała. A dzisiaj obejrzymy sobie materiał a propos trudnej gry o wspinaczce, którą ostatnio przechodzimy na streamie. Znaczy zaczęliśmy, jeszcze jej nie skończyliśmy. Przejdziemy, ale za dużo premier. I to jest od typa, który to stworzył, tak?
Getting over it with Bennett Foddy. One of the most hated games on the internet.
Hated bym nie powiedział, ja zajebiście robiłem Getting Over It.
One of
Bardzo
my
lubiłem.
all-time favorites. But I'm disappointed we don't have more games like this. So I spent an entire year trying to make one. And this video documents.
Ale udało się, ta gra jest naprawdę dobra, nie? Jakby nie zagraliśmy w nią długo, nie przeszliśmy jej za daleko, ale wydaje się bardzo przyjemna. Znaczy przyjemna, irytująca, przyjemna na swój sposób,
The
nie?
entire process I suffered through to make it. And it's available today on Steam. Please buy it. Okay, big surprise. I kind of want to make a climbing game. As far as I can tell, there aren't really any actual climbing games out there except for Bennett Foddy's Flash game from 2011, which I don't understand how to play. So this seems like
A czyli już ten sam gościu, co zrobił Getting Over It'a, już kiedyś próbował złapać podobnej gry. GIRP, w ogóle zajebista nazwa.
a good gap in the market. But how do you
Chociaż wydaje mi się, że GRIP było dużo lepsze, tylko że małe G i duże RIP. To by była dojebana nazwa na gierki.
control both hands and feet without it getting too complicated? My first thought was to make it turn-based. So you'd move your hand, then your other hand, and your feet, and so on. Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna work. But
Bez sensu,
we'll
bez
give it a try. So I started a fresh new project in Unity. Actually, I started this project in Godot, but I later had to switch to Unity. Anyways, more on that later. And after a few hours, I got something.
Ale w sumie śmieszne, bo wydaje mi się, że gościu tutaj po prostu, przez to, że nie miał umiejętności do tego, żeby połączyć wszystkie 4 kończyny, po prostu wyjebał dolne kończyny i przez to wyszło to lepiej. Cześć Izo.
And let's add some physics. This is cursed.
No ale to nie ma sensu aktualnie, nie? Łapanie się nogami da za bullshit.
I don't know about this. Well, it is difficult, but I can't say I'm having much fun. I think it's all just a little too confusing and clumsy feeling. Okay, let's think about this. While most other rage games are frustrating because they're intentionally designed to be frustrating, and getting over it was sort of like learning.
Ej, w sumie nigdy nie słyszałem powiedzenia rage games, ale to ma fuj sensu.
How to ride a bike.
Bit more speed. Yep.
Frustration is just a part of learning something new,
Oh, there we go.
which makes it fun. And then you realize that it's not hard. You just sucked at it. Okay, so maybe I just suck at these other games, and that's why I don't find them fun. Whatever. I don't know if I actually had a point with any of this. Okay, back
To są gierki typu easy to learn, hard to master,
to the
nie?
game. I think we need to simplify. So let's forget about the legs and
No,
focus
let's
on
go.
the hands only. But how do you control 2 hands with only 1 mouse? With 2 of them, obviously.
Holy shit! Here we go!
Well, actually, it didn't work. And it seems kind of stupid to ship a game where you need 2 mice. So, after hours
Ej, ty w sumie graliśmy w to i ja nawet już nie pamiętam, znaczy myszką się tylko steruje, ale jak to rzeczywiście zrobić, żeby tak płynnie przechodziło z jednej ręki na drugą?
wasted trying different things, possibly days, I finally figured it out. Okay, and here's how it works. Your mouse movement directly translates to a force being applied to each hand. The hands are connected to the body using standard Newtonian physics, and whenever you hold on to something, the direction of the force is reversed. Confused? Yep, me too. But it works.
Jeżeli coś jest głupie, a działa, to znaczy, że nie jest głupie. Prosta piłka.
You can also move sideways, and it turns out you can even jump a little bit.
O! No i w sumie przez przypadek zrobił całą mechanikę.
And with some animations layered in, it's starting to look pretty broken, actually. This can't be the right clip. What happened? Oh, that's it.
Klipuje trochę, nie? Do środka. Ale działa.
Wait a minute. Something strange. The controls feel actually really good. And as I was figuring them out, I was having fun. It's hard to describe without you playing the game yourself. It's kind of one of those things, you just have to feel it. So I guess you just have to...
A to jest to samo uczucie, które masz po graniu na przykład właśnie w Souls-like'i, że robisz coś, nie wychodzi ci przez x godzin i nagle kurwa udaje się i działa. I działa zajebiście i się tak jarasz tym.
Buy the game. Okay, this is getting a bit boring.
Siema.
How about some rocks? Yeah, in the game though. So this is the idea for the game. You have to climb your way up a huge level, and you can potentially fall down all the way to the bottom. We don't actually have a bottom. Let's fix that. And there.
O, no i nie da się wstać. Czyli nie da się wstać.
Maybe something softer.
Woda.
Like maybe water?
O! I działa. To pływanie to też jest rzecz, która na 100% wyszła przez przypadek, a jest tak zajebiście spoko, memicznie zrobione.
Uh-huh. And you didn't think I was gonna bore you with the details of how the water works? Well, think again, mother... Okay, so here's how it works.
Okay, czyli
first, we evenly distribute some points along a line, and this will be our surface. And then, if the player falls in, say around here, we can apply a force to the closest point. And then we apply the same force to the neighboring spheres, and the next ones, and so on.
Tak, żeby się rozchodziło, no, od głównego punktu. Właśnie, nieustannie.
Then we need some damping. But it wouldn't look like water if we
I bardzo fajnie jest sklejone te materiał.
didn't have any waves. And if we run a line in between each point, it kind of looks like water.
No to wygląda bardzo płasko.
Alright, I think we need a character. So I quickly model this guy and I think it looks pretty good. Okay, fine, I didn't make it. I found it online
No oczywiście, że tak.
and it was free, okay? I did texture it myself though, in case that counts for anything. Well, alright, this might be a problem. So let's cover him up a little bit.
Nie, no właśnie kurwa, nudity nie jest jakimś wybitnym problemem. Mógł nawet dla beki zostawić samą nagość w gierce. Wydaje mi się, że szczególnie na Twitchu byłoby to jeszcze bardziej memiczne. Ewentualnie dorzucić jako taki cenzor do opcji, nie? Chociażby zakrycie. Ale wydaje mi się, że wspinanie się go lasem by było jeszcze bardziej memiczne.
Okay, so now we're gonna have to deal with cloth. And cloth is pretty complicated and can end up misbehaving a lot. I've made promises in the past to never ever use cloth in video games again, but it turns out that the built-in cloth thing in Unity is actually pretty good.
Okej. O. Więcej nie potrzebujesz. Jak będzie klipować, to kogo to obchodzi, nie?
Oh, thank God that's done. Okay, on to the next problem. When you fall really fast and grab a rock, you just kind of snap to it like a magnet. Okay, so let's see if we can fix this by adding some friction. So yeah, friction. How easy do you think that was? Well, really easy actually. I just used the friction joint that comes with Unity. Huh. And
A to ciekawostka, że gościu mówi, że rok czasu zajęło mu tworzenie tej gry, a wygląda jakby ją stworzył dużo szybciej, nie?
after some programming, I can now assign a friction number to each surface. And so we have some grippy rocks. And we also have some slippy rocks. And it was around this time I switched from...
Najgorszy jest ten dźwięk, który wydaje kamyk, gdy się go łapiesz. To jest ten sam dźwięk, który jest przy chociażby piłowaniu paznokci. To jest kurwa coś, czego tak bardzo nienawidzę. Mam cały jestem w ciarce.
From using Godot to the Unity game engine. Because in Godot I ended up having to code pretty much all the physics by myself and I'm really...
No i to tak, dziękuję serdecznie za 39.
Hej, wiadomo coś co do wibowskiej
No,
wojny
oczywiście
i
Kamil tak że nie.
Piposzy.
Stupid, so it didn't really...
Aktualnie, stary, jest kurwa za dużo rzeczy. Jesteśmy tak bombardowani contentem z każdej strony, że ciężko jest znaleźć na to czas.
Work out that well. Whereas in Unity, I have all these little helpful things like the friction joint and a few other things. And I kind of have a confession to make. Those prototypes I showed you earlier, well, I kind of recreated those in Unity. My actual prototypes in Godot from like a year ago, well, they looked like this.
Alright, this is the first alpha male version of this game. It's really cool.
Okay, moving on. So.
No, ale to chyba dobrze, że się da Unity przerzuciłeś jednak. Jestem ciekawy, jakby to na Unrealu wyglądało. Ale wydaje mi się, że akurat do takiej gierki Unreal nie jest akurat wymagany.
Now that we have the basics of this game laid down.
Może i właśnie jej kanciastość taka dodaje jej uroku.
Time to make our level. So we start off with the first area of the game, which should be fairly easy, and it is. But because I know you guys are a bunch of whining babies, I'm realizing that we have a problem. See, if you make even the slightest mistake, even in a simple area like this,
You fell down. No o to chodzi. Rage game.
you're gonna fall back down all the way
to
to the bottom, forcing you to restart. And then you're gonna rage quit. And we can't have that now, can we? There is such a thing as boiling the frog slowly. We need to make the player feel invested in the game first, and then we crank up the heat. So, we need some
Czyli coś po kroju pomarańczy z Getting Over It'a, nie? Która zrzucała cały czas graczy i były te kompilacje rage'y. Gdzieś w połowie gry ona jest mniej więcej i gdy ją dotknąłeś, to się na niej slipowałeś i spadałeś na sam dół.
By adding some of these slippery rocks, if you do fall, at least you have something to hold on to. Now you won't be able to climb on them, but it should give you a chance to correct your mistake. So if you still manage to fall, it's your fault, and you have only yourself to blame. So the first section is really just for the player to get used to the controls and understand how to play the game, but then eventually you'll reach this point, where you'll be forced to make your first jump. But this time, there's no childproofing. And jump.
My go w ogóle za pierwszym razem zrobiliśmy na farcie.
People are gonna get really mad here. It's probably a little too difficult, actually. But eventually, we probably will need some type of checkpoint in the game. The easiest option would of course be to just add certain points in the game where if you fall down, you get teleported back up.
Nie, to jest bez sensu.
But this feels cheap and doesn't really suit the game.
Można zrobić tak jak było w Golfing Over It'cie, że masz jakąś szansę na to, że cię uratuje, gdy spadniesz o ileś tam stopni i taki aniołek przylatywał i ci ratował. To też było całkiem spoko, bo to była mała szansa na to, że ci się uda, ale jednak była.
At all. This is a rage game after all, so you should be able to lose a lot of progress. I thought about adding little hooks here and there that once you grab them, you're safe and you can quit the game without having to worry. But it still doesn't fix the fact that when you fall, most likely you'll fall all the way back down, which seems kind of unfair if you've made a good amount of progress. What if we place a body of water higher up that will serve as a safety net and a resting ground for the player, and then we continue building our level on top of that. This way we can control how far down the player will fall if they do fall. I'm pretty proud of the solution, I will admit. I then spent some time building the background and setting the look for the game. And when I say setting the look, what I really mean is using the default settings in Unity. Which apparently Bennett Foddy also did, since, well, both games look the same now. Whoops. Well, like Jonas told me, having your game compared to other similar games is actually a really good thing, since it helps people associate your work with something they're already familiar with. And when I posted the trailer for the game, Bennett himself
Szczególnie takie rzeczy, które pobudzają twoją nostalgię.
retweeted it, and I think he liked it, so I'll take that as his seal of approval.
Please don't sue me, Bennett.
I've been experimenting with different obstacles, like moving objects and physics-based objects. Something I ended up spending a lot of time on was getting the hands to connect with the rocks. If you look closely, you'll notice how the shadows aren't connecting with the hands, and, well, it's because they're not. Well, after a lot of research and trial and error, I ended up with this solution.
O ja pierdolę.
It looks crazy from this perspective,
Ale działa.
but from the camera, looks great. I mean, in some cases, you'll notice how the arms are really
To jest rzeczywiście, no.
long in the shadow, but
Mu wyginała
nobody needs to know that, right? People are so easy to fool.
To jaki jesteście, rzeczywiście. Teraz
And
to
I
widać.
spent the next 6 months finishing the rest of the game. Yep, 6 months. I won't bore you with the details, and I don't want to spoil the game for those of you who actually want to play it, but I'll give you a little sneak peek. So after you finish the first area, you'll enter this jungle. So it's a completely different environment, but also you'll be faced with a new challenge. So you'll have this running water, which if you grab, you'll be pushed back down. So now
Ale to nawet byliśmy już w tym miejscu akurat gierce i nawet nie odczuwasz, żeby to było jakieś dodatkowym
you'll
wyzwaniem.
have to be a little bit more careful about where you're placing your hands. And if you think that's bad, you're gonna love this next part. And the rest of the game consists of 7 different areas, each with their own unique challenges. And I also created some sound effects.
O Jezu, to my nawet nie jesteśmy w połowie giercy. Matko, córko.
And I kept tweaking the controls pretty much throughout the entire project, and they ended up being around 1,000 lines of code. And besides the character, I ended up making pretty much all of the assets in the entire game myself.
Okej, spoko. Fajnie, że robisz wszystko po swojemu,
Took
nie?
some time. Making a menu, creating the Steam page. Well, that's it. 1 year. The question is, can you beat it?
No zobaczymy, będziemy próbowali. Już zostałem najpopularniejszą baseniarą dzięki tej grze, także pasuje. Na pewno największą w Polsce, 3. na świecie. Pasuje robota. Fajny materiał. Fajnie, że zrobił coś takiego. To jest w sumie też jak self-reklama, nie? Że pokazać, to jest 1 milion wyświetleń w 7 dni, matko i córko, ale wykurwił.